Okay, here's real 10-1, populations and samples. So this is still about data, which is really nice. So I can use a sample to gain information about a population. So our key terms is population. So population is the entire group that, I should say, the information is being gathered about. The information. So if I want to know something about 7th graders at our school, my population is the 7th graders at my school. If I want to know about, men ages 50 to 60, it'd be every man in Reno, Nevada, ages 50 to 60. That'd be my population. The whole entire group I'm trying to gather information about. Now, because we cannot get every piece of that, right? We're not going to go and talk to every 7th grader in the school, and we're not going to talk to every man in Reno, Nevada. We go and get a sample. A sample is then part of the population that the information is being gathered about. So we just take a little grab of it, okay? We don't get everybody's information, but we do go take a little snapshot. So there's different kinds of samples. So the best one to use is called a random sample. It's a sample in which every object has an equal chance of being selected. So that's the best option because then everyone has an equal chance of being chosen to be asked, right? So we really, anytime you do a sample, you always want to do a random sample. So if we were going to do all the 7th graders in our school, we want a list of all of them in a hat, and then we'll grab, 100 of them. Or we'll grab 50 of them. But every 7th grader at the school would have to be in that box or hat or whatever, or on a list for us to grab from. And random meaning random, like I can't just get the list and then just go highlight every 5. Doesn't really mean everyone has an equal chance of being chosen. I have to have them in a box where I can grab, like Hunger Games. All right, a biased sample is actually what happens a lot of the time. It's a sample that does not accurately represent the population. So this is where not everyone has an equal chance, right? They maybe only ask people in our hallway, or you'll see people out on the street and they're asking you to take a survey outside a grocery store. Well, if you don't go to that grocery store on that day, or don't go to that grocery store at all, you don't have a possibility of being chosen. So a biased sample is where only like part of the town can be picked. So like they only are in downtown. Well, if they're trying to get samples about females in Reno, I'm not equally having an option because I don't go to downtown. Or vice versa, maybe they're doing it at the summit. So people that don't go to the summit are now no longer even a part of that sample. So it's biased, really, because then only a certain section of people of town are getting chosen. Same with the sample of the 7th graders, right? If they only ask the people in our hallway, it's biased because the entire 7th grade class downstairs doesn't have an ability to be a part of that discussion or a part of that sample. So it's not a true representation. And then we have biased questions, and these are questions that could cause people to respond a certain way. So the way biased questions work is instead of just saying, what's your favorite animal, they would say, out of these choices, what's your favorite animal? Dog, cat, horse, whatever. Well, what if your favorite animal is not on the list? So you have to choose one of those. So it's a biased question is where it forces people to choose a certain way. So you give them a limited amount, or it's a very limited choice. Okay? So that's biased question. So we got biased samples, but we also have biased questions. All right, so all we're going to do today is just determine, obviously doing this at school, when things are random and when they're biased, and then why, okay? So Roberto wants to know the favorite sport of adults in his hometown. He surveys 50 adults at a baseball game. Would you consider this random or biased? I want you to guess. You don't even have to write it down, just in your head, what do you think? Is this random or is this biased, and why? Okay. Hopefully you said this was biased. And that's because he's at a baseball game. And most people who are at baseball games, their favorite sport's going to probably be baseball. But also, it's biased, kind of like a question, because they're at baseball. So it's almost forcing them to think of baseball, right? So they're already at a baseball game. They're thinking about that. So they're going to be more pertained to, say, baseball. So it's only at baseball game, right? You weren't at the baseball game that day, doesn't work. But also, it's kind of like a biased question. Let's go like that, shorten it. Because they might be thinking of baseball. So you can see it really is biased. Let's maybe put colons here instead. Here's my 2 reasons. They're only at a baseball game. That's not random. You should be asking, sending it out to everyone in town. That's the other thing. If it's in your hometown, is everyone from your hometown at the baseball game? No. So not everyone had the possibility to answer, and then also it's kind of a biased question because you're at a baseball game. So it's kind of pushing you towards possibly a certain answer. So Paula wants to know the favorite types of music for students in her class. She puts the names of all students in a hat, draws 8 names, and surveys those students. Is this biased or random? Okay, think about it. All right, we would actually consider this random because it's all students. Right here, all students. She draws 8 names. That's still a sample. You know, maybe we don't have any in there, but it is. It's all students, so everybody has the possibility of being chosen, and it doesn't have a specific music, right? Any music can be chosen. Any music can be chosen. So that's the other thing. She's not saying, hey, out of these choices, what's your favorite music? So nothing about Paula's survey will be biased because she has all students listed and they can choose any music they want. All right, how might you choose a sample size of 20 to determine the preferred practice day of all the players in a soccer league? Okay, so I want you to come up with how you might get us, we want a random sample, so make sure you're thinking random, right? So how could you come up with, how are you going to pick these 20 people out of everyone in the soccer league to know when they would prefer to practice? Okay, so you're going to put an answer here and we will discuss it. All right, in Madison County, residents were surveyed about a new skateboard park. Determine whether each survey question may be biased and explain. This is question 1. Would you like to waste the taxpayers' money to build a frivolous skateboard park? Okay, biased or not? This is definitely biased. It's forcing you to answer in a certain way. And I'll explain. Right here, waste, that's a negative term, right? If you think negatively. Frivolous, meaning negative, right? They're forcing you to feel very negative about this question. So you're probably going to also agree and say, no, I don't want to waste on something that's not worth it. And, oh, the taxpayers. So if you're a taxpayer and you aren't into skate parks, then you're going to be like, no, I don't want this. So you're being forced because of these key negative terms and then talking about specifically about taxpayers. Okay, some people don't pay taxes. You have to have a specific job. Not that there's anything wrong with that. My best friend was a housewife, and so she didn't pay taxes. Her husband did, but she didn't, right? So, do you favor a new skateboard park? Biased or not? What do we think? Sorry, got distracted. sorry about that. Gotta check something. Okay, so do you favor a new skateboard park? This is actually not biased. Oops, not biased. Because it doesn't have an opinion in itself. Right? No opinion. Oh, I just totally spelled that wrong. You guys, rough day today for me. Opinion. Oh, right here. There we go. Opinion in question. So the first one had their opinion in it. They were saying it's a waste of time and money, it's frivolous, it's a waste of money, all those stuff, right? This one just says, how about you? What's your opinion on having a new skate park? So it's asking for their opinion. All right, last one, C. Studies have shown that having a safe place to keep kids out of trouble. Would you like to invest taxpayers' money to build a skate park? Pause. Biased, not biased. All right, so this is biased again. And that's because it's the opposite opinion of the first one. Okay, there's an opinion in this. And the opinion is that you're already starting with this. Oh, it's a safe place. We need a safe place for kids. Hey, skate park, safe place for kids. So there's opinion in the question. You're kind of being forced to answer a specific way. Okay, because they started it like that. It kind of forced you to, oh, think positively about it. The first one was very negative. All right, so things to remember, right? Biased, forced to answer a certain way. Certain way. Also, not a fair sample. Right? Not everyone in sample, or equal chance in sample. Not everyone with equal chance to answer. Okay, so that's the main thing I would want us to remember. Okay, so here's your two questions. Determine whether each question may be biased. Explain yes, why or why not. Kind of like what we just did. So would these be considered biased or not? Alrighty, till next time. Hopefully it's better next time.